Every person in America is kind of getting the black experience where, for hundreds of years we did all the work and other people got all the benefits. So they were like, look at what a great country we have. And we're like, it's not so great because we're the ones suffering to make it great. When they say make America great again, when America was great, we were the ones doing all the work to make it great, economically speaking, in infrastructure and all that. But we weren't the ones who were benefiting from the greatness of what we were building. And I feel like all of society kind of operates this way. This is kind of an artifact of capitalism. I think it's something that you want to be aware of. And so part of that, what's resulted because of this sort of leaning on the back of the American consumer in order to build the economy, through mass consumption, the consumption, the spending addictions that they give you when you're little, things like that, is that you have this debt crisis that results from the fact that people kind of have this thing where they spend at all costs. They will just spend even money that they don't actually have, because all you have to do, if you want to get a financially unconscious person to spend all their money, then all you have to do is offer them credit. And as long as you can make sure, and this is what the banks are thinking, this is what the high level capitalists are thinking. They're thinking, well, as long as we can force them to repay, then we can get back our money. We don't, it's not a big risk, right? So for example, I always bring this up, and it makes people uncomfortable, but it's a fact. You can look it up. Is that a few years ago, when we talk about the student loan debt crisis and the politicians are like, hey, we forgave these student loans, you should thank us. I'm the guy who says, well, let's go back 20 years when you were the same politicians that made a law that said that if a person has student loan debt, they can't write off their student loans in a bankruptcy. You can't get, so those student loans become like a financial STD that you can't get rid of. And I coined that term financial STD from my book Financial Lovemaking, because this is just this thing that's kind of hanging on you. And then you get married and your partner's like, wait a minute, you got $350,000 in student loans. Wait, what are you talking about? And so effectively, it's really interesting because it's almost like, I really do compare it to pimping, because it's almost like you're a pimp and you get to work your prostitutes beyond the level they think they can actually work, and by forcing their labor. And what I mean by that is this: the banks that loan you money to get you into debt, to get you to keep spending, if you were to tell them what you could afford, then they wouldn't believe you. They would say, no, actually you can afford much more. We just need you to sell your future. And so if you are at a low level of financial consciousness and you're not able to do what we do in consciousness training, which is to connect your future to your present, to engage in things like delayed gratification, stuff like that, then what you're going to do is do exactly what I did when I was 18 and I got a credit card. Think about this. I want y'all to answer me in the chat real quick. When you were 18 in college or young and somebody offered you a credit card and it had like a $10,000 limit, what was your first instinct? Like, were you more or less likely to spend money? Give me more or less. Just put a more or less in the chat. Were you more likely to spend money or less likely? Okay, I saw somebody said less. That's good. I would spend, 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 because if you're living in the moment and the culture and everything's telling you that all that matters is the moment, that the future is never going to arrive, then you're going to spend, spend, spend. So here's what happens, right? So think about this. This is interesting. So you then get buried under more debt than you personally feel like you can afford. So then the banks are like, okay, now we need to force this 18-year-old to pay us back. How do we do that? Well, we can find some ways to trap that person in a situation where they have to pay me back. Student loans were the perfect economic trap, because they went to the politicians and said, okay, we got a bunch of 20-year-olds who owe us $100,000 a piece or something. We know 20-year-olds are not going to pay the debt. They're going to hide out, and never and not answer the phone. So we need your help. So what they did was they said, let's pass a law that says that when they get older, you have to deliver your firstborn child to the bank, economically speaking. That when you get older, you can't dodge it. You can't make a decision. You can't say, I don't think I want to pay now. No, you're going to have to pay the piper, and you're going to have to pay based on the commitment that you made in the past. And some people think that that's an ethical thing, that you should always pay your debts and all that, which I agree with. But the unethical part of student loans is that, some would argue that that's an illegitimate debt to begin with. And the illegitimacy stems from the fact that there are people who fundamentally believe that you should not have to pay, um, you know, $300,000 to go to college. College isn't supposed to cost 80, 250,000, a quarter million, or whatever. College, I think a good education should be under $100,000. I believe that $100,000 should be kind of a cap. right? I think that you can educate a person quite well for, less than 100 grand. And that wouldn't be a bad trade, because if you go out and you get a job and you're making 80,000 a year or 75,000 or something like that, and you do that over the next 20 or 30 years, and you're going to make that money back and you can repay that. And that's okay. I don't think universities should be broke. But if you notice, I'm a college professor. You guys know this. I've taught on many campuses: University of Kentucky, Indiana University, etc. And I remember noticing in the late '90s and the 2000s how most of the campuses had so much money. They had so much extra money. They were hiring people they didn't even need. The ratio of administrators to students just skyrocketed once the government passed that law saying that you have to pay back your student loans. So the banks were very much willing to loan any amount of money because they took away the risk from the banks. They're like, oh, we'll loan you anything because we know we're gonna get that money back if we got to extract it out of your ass, so to speak. We got to garnish you, we got to chase you down. You can't get rid of us. We're right there with you. We're gonna be your financial roommate for the rest of your life. So yeah, go ahead. Here, just borrow the money. Go to the party, dude. Have fun, man. Just go, have a good time. College is great, man. And that's kind of what it is, right? That's a consciousness exercise. That's a consciousness exercise in the sense that 18, 19, and 20-year-olds aren't really thinking about their future at a high level most of the time. I was just thinking about this the other day. I was watching this. I saw this. These little weird things come to my mind. I scroll through Instagram just to see what everybody's talking about and what the culture is doing. I'm interested in that because, as I wrote in my book, The 10 Commandments of Black Economic Power, culture is everything. The culture you're exposed to is what gives you the uh, the the psychological winds that shove you in one direction or the other. So first video thing I saw that was interesting was I saw images where they were talking about Japanese businessmen and how they kind of have to they feel like they have to drink in order to fit in with their friends and entertain clients. And they showed these crazy images of these Japanese businessmen just splattered out on the street where they'd fallen asleep on, on some steps, or just kind of, one guy was hanging from a phone booth and he was like passed out drunk, and just all these images. And I remember just thinking, God, who wants to live like that? I'd be embarrassed. If that happened to me one time, I'd be embarrassed for life. I wouldn't want my kids to find me like that, or somebody who so I don't know, somebody in my family. It would be very embarrassing. And I said, wow, they're doing all this just so they can make friends, so they can fit in, so they can be part of the culture. And then another part was, I saw the rapper Glorilla, and she was in Jamaica partying, and she had a big liquor bottle. And of course, all the rappers have to twerk now. If you're a rapper, you have to start twerking within 30 seconds, or they're gonna end your contract. So she's like twerking and holding the liquor bottle, and that made me think about the other part of our culture that is promoting just this endless amount of alcoholism, drug abuse, sexual irresponsibility, and financial irresponsibility that leads to people ruining their lives. And then by the time they're about 33 or 34, they have kids, they start realizing, like, gosh, all that stuff I did in my 20s was kind of stupid. And I remember saying, to myself, and I think I made a comment. Sometimes I make goofy comments on posts because, stuff comes to mind. And I think I said something like, I never really understood why a person would ruin their lives just to fit into a group of people. And I think I said it kind of in a fatherly, scholarly way. I said, be yourself. Don't let the culture ruin you. Don't feel like peer pressure should lead you to do things that are going to be harmful to you. Think for yourself and don't be afraid of who you are. Just, make good choices. And so anyway, as I was thinking about that, that made me go back to what I was talking to you guys about how this sort of lack of consciousness is heavily encouraged in our society. Like, a lot of young people are encouraged to ruin their lives and then spend the rest of their lives trying to rebuild, repair, regroup, figure it out, make up for lost time and all that. And I can just tell you that wasting your 20s is such a handicap that you can give yourself. Your 20s are when you can be doing amazing things. And after that, I saw another video of Mark Zuckerberg, who's worth about $200 billion. And he said he gave a great business lesson in this commencement speech. And he said something like, he said, look, when you start off with an idea, you don't have it all figured out. He said, don't ever think that you have to have it all figured out when you start. He said, I didn't figure it out. I didn't know how to run Facebook and do all the things I can do. I just started. And then when I started, I learned as I was growing with the company. And he said, so a disservice that we do in pop culture is we make people believe that when you build these billion-dollar companies, that you have it all mapped out in your head and you know all the answers from the very beginning, and that's very easy. That's just simply not true. And so when I think about Zuckerberg, I think about a guy who didn't really waste his 20s. I'm not saying Zuck didn't drink and party. I'm sure maybe he did. I'm sure he did. Whatever he did, I don't know. But I do know that he was spending the majority of his time on the grind. He was spending most of his time busting his butt and building a future that was going to sustain him and his family for the next 400 years. Do you understand? Like that to me is that should be the template. That should be the blueprint. That should be the model for every young black child that wants to be successful. They should not hear from any older black person who encourages you or thinks it's okay for you to just waste your life for 10 years and then try to play catch up after that because you're black. You have to hurry up. You have to get started. You have to be on the hustle. You have to have your head on the swivel. You got to look over your shoulder. You got to be ready because they're already coming to get you. So why would you make it easy for your adversary to destroy you by signing yourself up for self-destruction? That's what I don't understand about some of the culture that gets promoted to young people. And I really hope you'll share this with any young person in your family. Maybe you got a son who needs to hear from a man. Let me tell you, man, a lot of this crap, anything that doesn't seem right, anything that has you out here looking crazy, anything that puts your life in danger, that puts you in bad situations is not good for you. I don't care how many people around you are doing it. You have to be strategic and intelligent. You have to love yourself enough to protect yourself. You have to love your body enough to protect your body and say, no, I'm not going to go and drink until I throw up every weekend because that's going to kill me. And on top of that, that's going to put me in a lot of bad situations. There's a lot of do you know how many people are in prison? And I know people like this, people that are in prison right now because of things that they did while they were under the influence of drugs or alcohol. Do you understand that? Like, so what that does is that takes away your brain. Like, your brain is not functioning properly. So you could lay down and sleep with somebody with AIDS because you were too drunk to even think about what you were doing. You could go out and you could be in the club. A lot of y'all may know people like this. Maybe it's just my experience, but I know at least a couple of people who went to the club and everybody was drinking. And when people drink, they start acting all crazy and guys start getting all bold because you're in like this mating circle. You're in this mating space. So men become high testosterone when they're competing for female attention. So you're in this high testosterone space where everybody's peacocking and everybody's half drunk and guys are getting in each other's faces trying to prove their masculinity, especially when they're young. And this is true for all the mammals. All the mammals, pretty much, when the males get to adolescence or beyond, they hit puberty, they start competing for females. That's elephants do it too. Like elephants will go and jump off of something and break their legs just to impress women or whatever. That's what weed boys do. So you got these nightclubs where these guys are all peacocking with each other and people are half drunk. And then next thing you know, somebody steps on somebody's shoe and the guy feels disrespected and the bouncers throw him out the club and he's mad. He's half drunk and he's not thinking. So he runs to the car, grabs a gun out of the glove compartment, comes back to the club and shoots up the club because he doesn't want to be disrespected. Do you know how many times that's happened? Or maybe it's just me. Maybe my black experience was just weird. I never did that. I was never a part of that. I did not get shot at the club. I did not shoot anybody at the club. But I know people who went to prison for 10 or 15 years. I know a guy who just got out of prison at the age of 50 because that's exactly what happened. He went to the club, somebody disrespected him, they threw him out. He went to the car, got his gun, and shot somebody. And next thing you know, his son met him for the first time as a free man when his son was 31 years old. That's terrible. That's tragic. That's horrible. And the idea that here's the thing. Let me explain it like this. When I hear politicians telling me the things I should be afraid of as a black man, I hear that, right? Like you should be afraid if Trump gets elected, democracy is going to come to an okay. I hear all that. But that don't scare me as much as imagining getting 30 years in prison because I shot somebody at the club and I can't watch my kids grow up. And then I got to miss the best years of my life. I got to miss age 21 to age 51 because I was in a situation where I was trying to impress somebody or prove my manhood or whatever. Do you understand? Like I really think that we don't have enough conversations like this about smart strategic choices. I can tell you that in a way, you can almost look at life like this bank account that you have. God gives you this big fat bank account that's got $1 million in it, and that's called youth. That's called time. That's called your life. And what we do is, because we've got so much there, and you're 19 years old, you feel like you got your whole life in front of you. You start wasting the money. You start wasting what God gave you. You don't invest it. You spend it. You throw it out the window, because that's what the culture teaches you. The culture teaches you to go out and make it rain and act a fool and throw it all away. And because you believe falsely, like sometimes rich people believe, they don't have financial consciousness. When you don't have consciousness about the value of what you have, then you start to waste it, and you start doing these crazy things that end up ruining your life. So for example, you might have a woman who doesn't understand how important it is to choose the right kinds of men that she lays down with, right? Because the culture, you saw your favorite rapper twerking with a wine bottle in her hand, and you're thinking this the city girl life is the life that you want to live. So and you're chasing the ballers and the thugs and whatever it is that you're interested in, because he looks like your favorite rapper. And then next thing you know, you've got two or three kids, a couple of STDs, a lot of bills stacked up to the ceiling, nobody helping you financially, and you're 31 years old trying to figure out how you can find a time machine to make yourself 21 again so you could do it all over again. And I think that a lot of that is, I think a lot of the mistakes that we make when we're younger can come from the fact that we don't have a structured process to train young people about life. Like, I believe if I had, again, in my school, if when maybe one day I'll get the money to open the kind of school I want to open, I want kids to get life training. I want every 18-year-old black woman to hear from a group of 45-year-old women who made good and bad choices. And I want them to go through every stage of life and prepare them just like you're studying for a big ass test. This is bigger than any math test you'll ever take. This is bigger than any biology test you'll ever take. This is bigger than your CPA exam. This is bigger than any test you'll take to get a master's degree. This is bigger than the test you took to become a nurse's aide. This test is the test of life. And you're going to go in this test. And the crazy thing about this test is that if you fail the test, sometimes you can't get a do-over. God, you get one chance to be 21 years old. You get one chance to be 28 years old. You get one chance to be 31 years old. And if you fail the test and you mess it up, then you have to go back and play catch up, which is really, really hard to do. And I really just think that we don't have enough consciousness to sit down and say, okay, let's get ready for the big test. God put it, you're thrown in the fire, and he's given you this opportunity. You've got this big bank account of youth. And unfortunately, you have a culture that tells you to waste it. Like, for example, I hate drugs. I really hate drugs. I hate the fact that we have these people that are not black, these non-black people that are running these damn record labels that are paying young black people to promote drug abuse to young people. And we all know what drugs have done to us. We know how many children did not have their mama because their mama was on crack. I didn't have my daddy because my daddy was on heroin. A lot of people didn't have relatives. Do you understand what it's like to even try to raise a child that's on drugs? Do you know how many mothers I've talked to, and more than one, who tell me I can't talk to my son anymore because he's strung out on fentanyl? Do you know, seriously, or another mom I talked to who said, yeah, my son got out of rehab again. So instead of this young man out here kicking ass, taking names, achieving goals, going to school, working hard, helping his mama, building a legacy, building a business, instead of doing all that, he's looking to go find a way to get high. And his number one goal every day is to stay sober. He's not even trying to fly. He's trying to avoid rock bottom. He's not trying to go to the sky. He's trying to stay from under the dirt. Right, that's his goal. That to him, that's an accomplishment. I'm 27. I'm gonna live with my mama and hope that today I don't go out and get high again, because I don't want to end up in that place. And I respect that. I appreciate that, and I'm not making fun of that. But I'm like, what happened here? How in the hell is it that he's playing from, instead of getting to 40? The high achievers are operating at level 47, 48. You're trying to avoid negative 12. You're trying to avoid, and you're 21, 22 years old. If it's that hard for you at 22 years old, imagine how hard it's going to be when you're 45 and you got some real ass problems on you. When you got a real problems, like a crazy teenage daughter, a couple of sons that you got to keep up with, a wife that you have to provide for, a family and a household and everything, a boss you got to go deal with. Imagine how hard it's going to be then. You're 21, 22. You're in the sweet spot, dude. Your energy's high. Your intellect is supposed to be high. You got your whole life in front of you. You have all these possibilities, and you threw it all away because some dumbass rapper told you to go smoke something, drink something, and pop a pill, and now your brain is fried. So your number one asset that you can use to overcome white supremacy, which is your mind, the mind of a black man is a multi-million-dollar commodity, your most precious asset, they already got you. They turned you into a slave and did not even have to incarcerate your physical body. They didn't have to get you physically. They got you mentally. They got you through the music. They got you through the culture. They already got you. You're not an asset to the community now. Now you're a liability. Now your mama is trying to stress out about her life and figure out how to keep up with you. That's terrible. That's horrible. That's sad. And then we open the pathway because we've forgotten how important a good father is. We don't know how to pick them, and we don't know how to groom them. We don't know how to raise and create men that are going to be the kinds of fathers that will stick with the family, stick with the kids, make themselves a presence in the lives of the children, and teach them the things that they need to know in order to be successful. We don't need we don't care about that because everybody telling you that single mamas can do it all by themselves and they don't need no man. I would never think I could raise my children without my wife. Oh my God. Like you really, what do you think? I can't even imagine that. I can't imagine trying to raise these girls without their mother. That's crazy to me. Any man who was telling me, you don't need no woman. You got this. You could do this by yourself. I'd be like, are you out of your freaking mind? I know nothing about braiding hair. I know nothing about all the womanly stuff, the cycles and I don't know. I don't have that delicate touch. All I know how to do is be a dad. I don't know how to be a mom. Maybe I could take a mom class. Somebody could probably teach me how to be a mom. Everybody's learning how to be trans this and trans that and all that. You saw that at the Olympics, the opening ceremony. Everybody, I couldn't tell who the men were and who the women were. Whatever. That's what it's a different world. It's Europe, right? I guess that's the weird stuff they do. But but I'm good at being a guy. I'm good at being a father. And that's something I put my energy into. And so I kind of really think when you talk about the economic crises that exist in America, and let's circle back to debt. We were talking about the debt crisis earlier. Let's circle back to that. I want to make sure we don't want to get us back to economics. Because some of y'all, sometimes people come in that are new and they're like, wait a minute, this guy, I thought we were going to talk about financial stuff. And what they don't know is that I'm actually talking about the financial side. But I'm going deeper than that. I really want to cure the issue. I want to cure the disease. I don't want to just treat it. Do you understand? Because I could tell you what you need to know. I could tell you everything you need to know about debt management and everything else. And we're going to do that training today at 3 o'clock if you want to join. Remind me to share the link with you guys if you want to join. But none of that matters if you can't even do the basics. It's like if a kid comes to school and they're failing math class. Well, in some situations, it might just be about the math. But if you go to a hood school and a kid is failing math class and failing English class and failing science class, it ain't just about the math and the English and the science. There's something deeper going on. Do you understand? Does that make sense? It could be because he's coming to school hungry every day and he ain't got no food in his stomach, so he can't focus on math because he's hungry. He's focusing on a sandwich. Or he saw his daddy punch his mama in the face last night and he was up till 4 o'clock in the morning fighting his father. So he's angry right now, and so he ain't thinking about English class. He's not trying to learn. He's not trying to read that Edgar Allan Poe book that you want them to read by Friday. He's not interested in that because he's dealing with some deeper issues, lower base level issues like simple security, emotional and other forms of security. Or maybe he just, he got shot at by gang members on his way to class today, and he's thinking about where he's going to get a gun to protect himself because the Crips on the east side are looking for him, and he's worried if he's going to die this week. So he can't really think about your science test. So if you're dumb enough, if you're crazy enough to think that the cure is to just make sure Tyrone understands the periodic table, then you're completely missing the black experience. You don't know. You're not a good teacher at that point. And shout out to all the teachers in here because I know how hard y'all have to work. I love I respect teachers almost as much as I respect soldiers. I are about the same level because some now teachers are becoming soldiers. They have to be soldiers because some of these kids are crazy. And I just love those teachers. That my wife was a school teacher for many years, and she was that type of teacher that would pay a little extra money to go get school supplies for the kids that couldn't afford them. And I've been a teacher my whole life, and I used to be a track coach, which is kind of like being a teacher. And you have to do the extra stuff when you're black in America. You have to kind of be okay with going outside of the lines to do what's necessary to get the job done. So I remember when I was a track coach in Louisville, Kentucky, my hometown, and I remember having to we take a trip to a track meet, and I'd have to take one of the kids to Walmart so we can get them some clothes for the next day because their mama didn't pack them any clothes or underwear or anything, right? And so you kind of know that these are the things that you have to do, and I'm okay with that. I love that. To me, I honestly, I don't understand people who find that to be a nuisance, because I don't think that caring about your own people should be ever a nuisance for any strong man or strong woman or committed man or committed woman. Some people think it's a nuisance. Some people say, well, those ain't my kids. I don't give a damn. People like that I don't really relate to as much, because I think that their consciousness just isn't where I think it could be and should be. I really believe that. Again, no disrespect to those people. They can just remain wherever they are. But I kind of think that those of you that have that awareness, I encourage you to embrace that and to be proud of that. Don't be ashamed of that. And so anyway, that's one of the reasons why I think that if you're talking about things like the debt crisis, you really have to kind of look at what the underlying cause is. If you're overspending, what's the underlying cause? What's really happening here? What made you feel like you had to have that particular type of car? What made you feel in college that you had to go and max out that credit card? What made you believe that you had to spend $250,000 going to school that you could never repay? Who told you that that you should go out and keep spending just so you can keep up with the Joneses? All of these things are things that you unpack in places like therapy. Like my wife is a therapist, and she helped me start the Black Financial Therapy Department in the Black Business School. Her website is coachingwithdralicia.com. If you ever want to make an appointment, just go to coachingwithdralicia.com. She works with a lot of different people from different backgrounds, so feel free to reach out. And I would just say to you that if you get to the underlying things that make you tick, if you figure out like why you do what you do, who you are, what those voids are that can help you to elevate as a human being, then what will happen is that those other problems will solve automatically. So, for example, if you think about the kid that comes to school every day and he's failing math, he's failing English, he's failing science, and you find out that, okay, it's not because he can't understand math, it's not that he can't understand English or science, it's because maybe he's got problems in terms of having enough food. So maybe you make sure he's fed, or he's got problems in terms of following the crowd. He's in the wrong crowd. Maybe you help him build his self-esteem so he can stand up to the crowd of boys that may be guiding him in the wrong direction, or making him think that that he's a nerd because he wants to make good grades. Right? These little things, I found that that filling these emotional voids can go a very long way in terms of helping you to have the courage to stand up to a society that wants to see a black man dead. I will say that the thing that saved me the most as a black male was the fact that I have a strong father who is a courageous man who does not give a damn what anybody thinks. I saw him do this. I was not as courageous as my father. My father has killed people. He's had to do that in the line of duty. And but he's just a man that always had courage. And my mother was a person that always had passion. She always showed me what passion, that emotional, just like you, if you want it, you got to be ready for it. You got to go above and beyond. And also my parents had a type of conservatism. My parents are conservatives, and I'm not ashamed of that, because I think that that conservatism is the same conservatism I see from people like Dr. Claude Anderson, or from our grandparents who found a way to make a way how to be successful before integration, before civil rights, before everybody got a trophy, before you got a cookie for being black and everybody felt sorry for you, before they told you that because you're black you can't accomplish anything, before they told you that being black is the same as being gay, or before they told you that being black was the same as being a white woman. Those people were my people. Those people before integration, I love listening to them because they kind of just sort of they sort of lean on the basics, the foundational things about life. Like my grandmother just kind of had this idea that like ain't nobody gonna feel sorry for you. If you do something stupid, it's your fault. You made that decision. Don't be stupid next time. You sometimes you only get one chance in life, and sometimes life ain't fair. Sometimes you got to work twice as hard to get half as much, and that's not fair. That's not fair. And I but that was something that my grandma would just tell me, like, look, it ain't fair, but life ain't fair. And I think those simple kinds of lessons, what they do is they kind of supercharge you and they give you the confidence and the kind of like a stubbornness or a type of sturdiness that allows you to overcome things, because you're not sitting around wasting time crying and feeling sorry for yourself. You're just going ahead and getting the job done. But I will say this though, that when my grandmother used to say you had to work twice as hard to get half as much, that statement is true under only certain assumptions. That statement that that being black means you have to work twice as hard to get half as much is true under one major condition. If you are a black person trying to fit into white society at every turn, then yeah, you're gonna have to work twice as hard to get half as much. If I'm spending my time trying to go to a company that doesn't even hire black people, and I'm the only Negro in the entire department, then yeah, I'm probably gonna have to work twice as hard to get half as much, because I'm in a space where the culture is not my native culture. These are not my native people. It's no different from a Chinese person who says, I'm going to go to Ecuador and rise up the corporate ladder. A Chinese person in Ecuador trying to rise up the corporate ladder is going to be at a significant disadvantage from the people that are native Ecuadorians. Give me a yes if you understand my logic here. Let me know if you understand this analogy. I want to make sure you're following me on this. So if you're Chinese and you're trying to rise up the corporate ladder in Ecuador and you say, damn, being Chinese means you got to work twice as hard to get half as much. Well, I would say to you, well, what's wrong? What the hell is wrong with China? Why don't you take your yellow ass back to China? If you go back to China, you don't have to do that no more. You know, if you go build for China, why are you in Ecuador? And how did that happen? What makes you think you got to be here? Why? You must not have high self-esteem. You must really hate yourself because you know being Chinese is beautiful. Being Chinese you have a rich history. You have a great community. You have really smart people you can work with who are not going to tolerate you despite the fact that you're Chinese in Ecuador. They're going to love you because you're Chinese. You understand? The things that are hated about you will be celebrated. So I would say the same thing to the black man and the black woman who was raised on the false narrative that you got to work twice as hard to get half as much. The reason you got to work twice as hard to get half as much 9 times out of 10 is because you are operating on enemy soil. You are in on foreign territory. You are in a space where the people are not familiar with you. They don't connect to you. They don't understand you. You don't understand them. So yes, you are literally the Chinese person who's trying to rise up the corporate ladder in Ecuador. And I would say the same thing to you that I would say to the Chinaman. I would say, why the hell don't you consider going back to China? Why do you hate being around your own people so much that you feel like you got to be around somebody else? So that's a deeper discussion that has to occur, and that's a question we have to ask ourselves. Because I can tell you this: when I'm in spaces where people don't get me, I don't even like it. I sometimes I get invitations to go do corporate stuff and I get very nervous because I say, gosh, I'm gonna have to learn how to code switch and they're gonna be uncomfortable with me. They're gonna Google me and find out that I love black people and that's gonna make me dangerous. And they'll say, he's dangerous. He's dangerous. He might come in and kill everybody. I'm like, I'm not dangerous. I'm a nice guy. What do you mean I'm dangerous? Oh, you love black people and no one loves black people. Who in the hell in their right mind would ever love African Americans? African Americans suck, right? And I'm like, but I don't think they suck. I think black is beautiful. Why you treat me like this? Oh my God. I need a drink. Oh Lord. Yeah, and that's what we go through. We end up in these spaces where people they're just different. They're not like us. They really aren't, and so I think that what we have in front of us is this massive job that we have to do that really involves the development of various forms of infrastructure that allows us to operate in spaces where we're understood and appreciated, as opposed to going to spaces where we are going to be mistreated and disliked. And so that's that. Systems are really important in society. Racism is a systematic phenomenon. And so, if you want to understand how to overcome racism, it's best to understand how systems are constructed, how systems are deconstructed, and how systems can be rebuilt, how you can build systems of your own. And this is why, for example, in our Black Millionaires of Tomorrow program with kids, we have an acronym, STURDY. We want to build sturdy children. The S stands for systems, technology, entrepreneurship, relationships, and delegation for the youth. STURDY, STERDY, it starts with systematic thinking. Systematic thinking is a type of consciousness. A person who sees a system is not the same as a person who just sees himself as a cog in a wheel, right? A systematic thinker sees the bigger picture. They're looking at the whole system. They're not seeing themselves as a cog in the wheel. They're looking at the whole damn bike and the structure of the whole bike. And they're trying to build a bike, right? So this is a type of training that children should have at a very early age. Wealthy people are trained to think in terms of systems. John D. Rockefeller, when he talked about the public school system, he said, let's build a system that's going to train people to get up and come to work every day. He said, in this system, we're going to herd people together like cattle because my consciousness is up here. Everybody else is down here. We're up here. They're just trying to figure out how to plan for Saturday night and how to get enough food on the table to eat tomorrow. I'm thinking about how we're going to move this whole damn country. I'm looking at the whole system. So he said, let's build a system. It's called the public school system. And I don't want it to produce a bunch of free thinking people who want to do what's best for themselves. I need a bunch of people that are going to get up and go to work every day. That's going to be their core value. So that was systematic thinking. Another example is I remember Joseph Stalin the former president of Russia, or the whatever he was, dictator, whatever his title was. And he said something that was really interesting about war. If you know anything about Stalin, he was a powerful leader. He was he wasn't always a good man, but you could say he was a great man, not in a positive way, but just great in terms of impact, just a great, tremendous impact on Russia. But he killed tens of millions of people. And he had this interesting statement that was really fascinating, where he said, one death is a tragedy, a million deaths is just a statistic. So if I tell you the story about one person who died, like for example, the George Floyd story, when we saw the George Floyd story and we saw that one death, a lot of us were affected emotionally. You had people cry, people were very, very sad, as you should be. That's fine. It's no problem with that. But then I could also say, well, 109 people got shot in Chicago on July 4th weekend, and a lot of people would just keep on going. Right. Or I could tell you, or you could think about Trayvon Martin. We all got caught in the one story of Trayvon Martin dying, and it was a terrible story. It's, with Skittles and Gatorade, or what, Skittles and iced tea and stuff like that, right? And we were all caught up in that story of that one death. But then I could say, well, 5,000 people got murdered in the Congo in the last month, and we're like, oh yeah, well, what's for lunch today? Right? So a lot of times, unfortunately, that systematic thinking can be used for good or for evil, right? It can either help you to see a bigger picture that will empower you, or it can cause you, unfortunately, to miss a lot of tragedy that does exist in the world, because we have that emotional exhaustion. So what I would say is that if you assume that systematic thinking is used for good, if you think about systematic thinking to be used to acquire power for the productive benefit of the Black community, I would encourage you to make sure your kids understand how to see bigger pictures, how to see the big system, the big process, as opposed to seeing the little stuff, right? Instead of getting caught in the petty and the tiny. I think the bigger your thinking is, the more impact that you're able to have. So if I have a bright child, let's make it concrete here. If I have a smart child, and my child, I'll use my child as an example. I have a very smart child. She's 13 years old. She's damn near like a professional dancer, and because she dances every day. She literally spends 3 or 4 hours a day at dance practice. She goes to practice twice a day like a grown ass woman. It's amazing. Um, she thinks about dance. She's thinking about her friends. She's thinking about how cool it is that she can go to high school and she made the dance team, and she's popular and gets invited to parties and all that. Um, my job, I believe, or the job I've chosen, my Black job, the most important Black job I'll ever have, is to guide her to understand how powerful she is, to help her understand little things like, well, you do know that being 13 years old, with the work ethic and the discipline and the consistency that you have, is a really powerful thing. You do understand that the skills you picked up to this point can make you successful at anything you want to do in your life. And so, as she's talking about dancing and singing and being an actress and how much fun it is to be creative, I'm encouraging her to also explore what it means to, say, be a Tyler Perry. Like, okay, Tyler Perry runs this empire where he's making all these movies, and when he wants to be the star, he makes himself the star, and when he wants to make the money, he gets to make the money, and it's written by, produced by, directed by Tyler Perry. That's, which is very bad, by the way. But still, though, I want her to study those models so she can understand, like, look, you're better than just an actress who is one of 1,000 people at some Hollywood audition. I don't want you to just think of yourself as this talented actress or singer dancer that's at some Broadway audition where you're in line with 1,000 other people trying to get one role that they're going to give out of 1,000 people that are sitting in the hot sun waiting all day. I want you to think of yourself as the person that can oversee the entire system. I want you to also know you have the option to make your own movies, make your own plays, finance your own operations, to do the Debbie Allen sort of thing, right? And I think that type of systematic thinking is beneficial, not just because it's more fulfilling for the individual, but it's more fulfilling for the community. Do you understand? A Debbie Allen who is a great dancer is not as impactful as the Debbie Allen who runs an entire school where it's filled with young Black children that are all going to learn what Debbie Allen is teaching. Do you understand? And all have opportunities because of the vast connections that a Debbie Allen might have. So when Debbie Allen elevates, I'm using her as an example just because I know somebody who goes to her school in LA and I hear it's very good. The Debbie Allen as the dancer is not nearly as impactful as Debbie Allen, the CEO. Do you follow what I'm saying? Does that make sense? I hope that makes sense. And this is a type of thinking that she had to get when she was very, very young. You know, when her sister Felicia Rashad, they got that from their mother and their father at a very early age. And now both of them actually are able to have tremendous impact that goes far beyond just how talented they were as performers, right? You're more than just a performer. You're more than just a worker. You're more than just your little black job. You're more than just a person. You have the capacity and the ability, as well as your children, to be something that multiplies itself. And you have to have this. You have to have something that is going to mass produce the thing that you want to see in the community. You have to have something that is going to have scale. Scale is critically important. So if we're trained on scale at an early age with the kids, then we have that opportunity to build that wealth and build that power that we're seeking. Systematic racism is a system. In order to fight a system, you must build better systems that are stronger than the original system that oppresses you. An individual has a very hard time defeating an entire system. So just keep that in mind. Okay, so a couple things I want to do is answer a couple questions, and then actually I promise you all I share the link. So later on today, we are going to do the certification on Black Wealth. It's called Black Wealth 101. I'm going to cover 8 financial diseases that are very prevalent, how to diagnose them, how to fix them, how to cure them, things like that. And also, once you get done going through the material, you can get a certificate to show your certification. This is something new I put together called the Black Wealth Academy. Or, sorry, I called the Black Wealth Academy. I apologize. It's the Dr. Boyce Academy. I was thinking about calling the Black Wealth Academy, so my apologies for that. And let me I'll share the link with you. And if you use this link, you can get a discount on today's live event. So you'll get the live event, and then also you'll have access to all the recordings, all the materials for life. It'll be yours for life. And in addition to that, you can share it with your whole family. So feel free to share it with anybody in your family that also wants to learn. So it's only, one fee per household. And let me see if I can find the link. Here we go. Here's the 30% off discount code. Okay, so give me a second. I'm going to share that with you. And then the second thing, I saw someone was asking about Prime. Yes, we're going to have a Prime meeting soon. I have to look at the calendar to see when Prime is going to meet. Prime is basically the program where we talk about generating income by selling stock options. If you haven't looked into it, you may want to, because this is a great way to make money. And I know that a lot of us are figuring out how to pay bills and stuff like that. It works really well for those of you that are savers. Maybe you have some money in your retirement account or something, or you've been investing in stock and you want to find other ways to make income from your stocks. I've been doing this for a very long time, and it's actually worked quite well. So anyway, so there's the link for today. So feel free to hit that link. Let me know if you can see it. And today we're going to do that training at 3 p.m. If you can't make it, then don't worry. I will put the recording inside the material, and you will be able to log in. Now, this is different from the Black Business School. This is the Dr. Boyce Academy. So this is a specific place with self-contained training modules that will allow you to get certifications in various areas that you want to learn. And that's sort of why I wanted to separate that from what we're doing in the Black Business School. But there's the link again. All right. So let me see. I'm going to try to look for a second to see when the next Prime meeting is. If you are on the Prime text list, or if you're not on the list, you could text the word options to 87948. Text options to 87948, and I'll send you a notification of when we're going to do the next Prime meeting. And I believe one should be scheduled in the next few days. If not, I think what I'm going to do is do a pop-up where we can do a Q&A and talk about what's happening in the market. The market has been pretty volatile lately. There's a lot of opportunities. At the same time, there are some issues that I want you to be aware of in terms of being prepared for what might be around the corner. And I'm looking here, and yeah, actually, we do have a class Monday at Monday the 29th. So what I'll do is I will send out the link for class today. Actually, I'll text that out to you guys. So make sure, if you are interested in stock options and you want to join the Prime class, feel free to go to or feel free to text the word options to 87948, and I'll send you a link where you can join. And what's the coupon code? The coupon code. Did you see the coupon code, Rhonda? Here's the coupon code. That's for today. So today what we're doing is a certification on Black Wealth 101. And I'm going to do a live training, and then also there's going to be, and also there's a ton of material already in there. So if you wanted to even get started right this second, you actually could go through some material now. But today I'm going to do a sort of a live session, and we're going to go one by one through 8 different categories of financial diseases that exist, and how you can identify them, avoid them, and cure them if they are affecting you. So let's see, do I counsel lottery winners asking for a friend? I do have some one-on-one sessions. I don't do a ton of them, but I do have a few available. So if you're interested in a one-on-one or something like that, you can email support@theblackbusinessschool.com. So feel free to email support@theblackbusinessschool.com. Okay, guys. So let's get on out of here. I hope you guys have a great day. Don't forget, tomorrow morning we are going to meet for class again. We do this every morning at 10 a.m. Eastern, and also tomorrow, Monday night, is when we're going to have prime class. So that's what we're doing in the near future. And then today, this afternoon, we're doing the certification live training. Okay, so Margaret says the coupon code, please. Okay, so here's a coupon code again. That code should get you where you want to go to. So if somebody can hit that code and let me know it works, I'd appreciate it. I just want to make sure I assume I'm giving you the right code. Yeah, the regular fee for the certification would be, which is yours for life, is $299, and this code will drop the price down to $209. So it takes $90 off the price, and the code word is first 100 only. That's all is one word, but it should be embedded in the link. So if you click the link, it'll take you right to the checkout page. So let's see, Denise says it shows $299. Okay, it shouldn't show that, but let me give you the code. Yeah, the code word is first 100 only. So the code works for the first 100 of you that sign up. So feel free to type in that word first 100, the number 100, first 100 only, all one word on the checkout, and that'll give you the discount if that doesn't work just from clicking the link. So clicking the link, though, this should work. I clicked the link. It looks like it works. Okay, everybody. So have a good day. I'll see you guys today at 3 o'clock. And also, hope you have a wonderful Sunday, and God bless you. See you.